Do you like my shirt? Yo ho, yo ho. Okay, so I suggested it and you guys requested it. So here it is, my ride or dies. So to choose my favorite dies wouldn't be an appropriate video, because that always changes. New stuff comes out and I get new awesome stuff. I broke this down really into categories so that I could choose multiple sets in each category. And I don't own everything. I actually have a quite small. Everything you see behind me, these rows, are my stamps and my dies. They're stored together. So I don't have a super huge collection, but I'm very picky when I buy things sometimes, so I'm going to tell you why I chose it and just some things that I like about it. So I'm calling this my ride or dies, but really it's my go-to dies for card making. I'm primarily a card maker and I do enjoy crafting other things, but I started with scrapbooking and card making, and so that's where I really am passionate. So my first category is sentiment strip dies or speech bubbles. So many of you may know, if you've seen my videos, I don't have the straightest eye. So I've always sought out things to help me keep my sentiment straight or put a sentiment on the card easily. And I'm not talking word dies, we'll get to that. Things that are appealing to my eye that I enjoy using for sentiments. So right here next to me, I actually have this is a knife block, and it is meant to store knives in your kitchen, but it's magnetic, so you can attach your dies to it. Sheet metal wall here that I have many magnets attached to. I used to have a magnet on the back of this until reaching that far got to be too much. So I decided to bring them closer because I'm spoiled. So this is what I use to store my very favorite dies, and on this, okay, are my Heaphy Doodle strips of ease. Now there are two sets of these. There are the stitched variety and the open variety, and I go to the open set more so because of that. I need to see where I'm lining it up. These really help me do that. I also have some other things on here, but I'll talk about them when we get to that category. Some other sentiment helping dies I've somewhat organized. I pulled these all out today. The pretty pink Posh speech bubbles, these are stitched and they're super cute. I really enjoy using these. I have the Heaphy Doodle strips of ease. These are the stitched variety that you can't see through. These two sets I've had forever. They're Spellbinders. This is Say What. It's basically speech bubbles, but Spellbinders goes the extra mile with their dies and creates embossing details in their dies. So like you can get these stripes or these patterns or hearts or flowers in their die, or impressed onto your paper with the die. So I really like these, and this is a banners set. This is also by Spellbinders. Ribbon banners. Super old. I've had it forever. Border edge dies. I don't know, you may call them something different, but I call them border edge dies, okay? And they help you create a scene on your card. So I have pulled out a few of my very favorite ones. I have mostly Your Next Stamp here because I'm part of their design team, so I get a lot of their product. There's the double stitched hills. This is really cool because I can leave the stitching on both the negative and the positive of the die cut. I also use these puffy border cloud dies on many of my projects. I like to use them for sky scenes. This is the grassy borders die, and it's really unique. It looks like my yard because it all looks overgrown and like they didn't cut their grass for a couple of weeks. That's mine. But they really do help you create a scene on your card. So when I go to purchase dies, those are some of my go-to dies that I like to purchase. Number 3 is interactive card die sets. Okay, now Fawn knocks this out of the park like crazy. Here in my hand I have the Scalloped box card pop-up die set, and it makes creating box cards so much easier, and you don't have to put as much thought into it, and sometimes that makes it more fun. It certainly does for me. So I have made box cards both ways, and I'm gonna reach for this to make it a little bit easier for me. So they have this. I know they have one that they just recently came out that you can turn it and different sentiments will go through the wheel. Magic slider die sets. They really do a fabulous job. These are the Lawn Fawn slider slide on over. I also have Your Next Stamp slider dies, and these are cool because they make different types of movement, so you have a nice variety for your card. Waffle Flower makes a pull tabs die, and this is really cool. I found this at Creativation. You can make a slider with this channel design, and you don't have to use large amounts of adhesive to pop your card up. It works from the mechanics of the paper. So that's really cool. But a lot of times I will buy the interactive card die sets so that making those cards aren't as time consuming, because it still does take a significant amount of time to create those projects. Next is shaped dies or nesting dies. Some of my favorite dies that I use, of course, and it's over here on my magnet, is the Your Next Stamp stitched rectangle die, second from largest. I really enjoy using this because of the trim that it leaves. You can see a little bit of the card base behind you, and you guys know how much I love my fog cardstock. So that is a nesting die. I have the rest of them here. I do use them sometimes, but that one's like my best friend. So I have scalloped nesting dies. These are really good because it's hard to create these scallops. So anytime I can save time or make things easier, I really do go for that. I also have some windows. I have shaped dies like these t-shirts and the jerseys. And you can make all kinds of different t-shirts or jerseys. It's very versatile. So it's a good choice when you're buying and spending your money on dies. I also have several different rainbow sets and shooting star sets that make creating that element with cardstock so much easier. I love the Polaroid or Instastack. I like that. I like to take pictures. Photos have a piece of my heart, so I enjoy using those dies on my cards. Large aperture dies and frames. What I mean by that is it creates a window in your card, or it creates a focal point for whoever's looking at the card. They can see this is where the magic is. Pretty Pink Posh does a great job with frames. You only get a couple of them, but those are the ones that the sizes that I usually reach for anyway. They have different sizes, different shapes, and they're scalloped. I could not easily recreate this cutting it myself. So these dies are something that I like to use. They also have this kind of half circle die. Some of my favorites are this MFT Jumbo Peekaboo die set, and this I've used on a ton of projects. You can look on my Instagram feed and point it out. You can use them together or independently. It makes them very versatile. So this is one that I won't be getting rid of. Another great set to get when you're going to purchase dies or spend a significant amount of money on dies is alpha and number dies. Most of my alpha sets, I also have the numbers. This is CZ Design all caps number 1. It's great to use for both scrapbooking and card making. It's a great size and it's significant, so it can become a focal point on your card. I also enjoy using, this is Neat and Tangled Journaling Alpha die set. I like to stack these. It's really unique and it has a long slender shape, so it's really appealing to me. I also like these. These are Your Next Stamp Bold Alphas, and I also have the numbers, and I like that they're kind of short and chubby, and sometimes they're perfect to just add part of your sentiment and pop it up as a word. Alpha and number die sets are often expensive because there's a lot of dies in them. But it's worth it because you can personalize your projects and you can also make your own sentiment. Whatever it is that you want to spell that'll fit on your card, make a 12 by 12 card. I don't care. You're mailing it. You can make your own sentiments, and that's really versatile, and so I reach for alphabet dies often. Okay, so then we have word dies, right? So we're spelling things on our cards. We're using words, either together or two different sets or mix matching words. Anything that has a very versatile sentiment is something that you should spend your money on, like thanks or happy birthday. This is Your Next Stamp bold happy birthday word die, and it actually comes with both of these sizes, so you can have the larger size or the smaller size. I find myself using that. This is MFT Thank You. This font is very unique and I really like it. I like the way that it looks. So when you're looking for word dies, buy a word die that is appealing to your eye. So I like that one. And then Heaphy Doodle has a whole slew of very useful words. So I say honey. It's very rare that Tim ever calls me by my name. So I usually get babe or honey. Somebody needs to make a babe. Can somebody please make me a babe word die? I'm a babe, okay? I have sending, love, teacher. These are all extremely useful word dies. So when you're going to purchase a word die, make sure that it goes with whatever cards that you're making or that you enjoy making, because I really dislike making sympathy cards, but you know what? Sometimes you need them, and it's unfortunate. I really need to probably train myself to work on sympathy cards more often. I also like to purchase cover plate dies. These are probably the most expensive dies that you can buy next to the alphabet sets. If you have a cover plate die and a word die, then you have a card, okay? I mean, you need cardstock and glue, and if you have something large that takes up the whole card front and then a word die to express your feelings, it all works out. These are the storybook type where they have like a little box where you can tell a story within each box. So I really like the storybook cover plates. I really think that they're fun to use. They have, this is a chicken wire. This is MFT chicken wire. Whenever I make chicken cards or even crab, like seafood cards, I reach for this one. So this is also very versatile, especially for me living in Maryland where crabs are part of our life. I also have the Your Next Stamp wave panel die. I really like the look of this die. I mean, it doesn't have to be waves. You can use this for just making rainbows or a flag. If you look at your dies and see all the different ways that you can use them, you'll be surprised at what you can create. One of my favorite cards in the world that I ever made used this honeycomb little, I think this is paper smooches. I use these little bees and it's like one of my favorite cards. Maybe I'll insert a picture if I can find it. So after cover plate dies, which are very versatile and very simple, if you're a new card maker and you want to make something easy or repetitive when you have to make a ton of different cards, cover plate dies and word dies combined can really make things easy for you. We also have coordinating dies. Dies that are meant to go with your stamp set. I have purchased coordinating die sets and not the stamps that went with them because I was attracted to a certain die in their set, and I'll give you an example. This is Neat and Tangled Little Bits, and it's a great set of circles and diamonds and stars. It's like Lucky Charms of dies, okay? They're great to pull and put on your project. Now in here, I have a little wonky heart that is not part of the Little Bits set. That wonky heart is part of Paper Tray Inc.'s, I think, Love Story set. That wonky little heart is the reason why I bought the entire die set. And then I lost it once. And Kevin Bray, he sent me a new one because he is my friend and he's so awesome. This is the second die set that was purchased without the stamps. That also lives on my little rack. Knife rack. This, okay, has these very unique hearts, much like my little wonky heart from Paper Tray. So I have actually used these hearts and this die that cuts out the scripty sending. It's so awesome. I've used those on a card, but not these other images. In fact, I made a whole card with just these hearts. You might be able to see it at some point. I'm not sure. I sent it off to Leslie. I'm sure that I'll color these happy puppies at some point. What I really wanted to play with were these hearts. coordinating dies are very important. And I have a brother scan and cut, and I'll tell you right now that I love it. If it broke, I would definitely go and try to replace it, because I have cut out certain shapes. I have designed my own word dies for the brother scan and cut. I have cut out different things using the brother scan and cut, and it's very helpful. But here, let me tell you a little story, okay? So I sat here, and this is not the only time. This is just one time that this has happened, okay? I sat here and colored an image with my Faber-Castell polychromos, and it took a long time. Sometimes it will take me days because I have to get up and do other things for other people and come back to my project. And so this took me days, okay? I'm like all proud of myself and my beautiful coloring. This is gonna be good. And my mat looks like it's picked up all the dog hair for the dogs that we don't even own, and Dexter hair, and like sand from outside, and there's probably something from beaches 10 miles away on my scan and cut mat. So it doesn't stick anymore. And so I have to tape it down, and I know that I can clean it or I can buy a new one. I'm stubborn sometimes. But I tape it down nice and securely with like all 4 sides, and then I load the mat into my scan and cut, and I scan it in, and it looks and it sees the image. That's always a good thing, because sometimes it doesn't see the image and I have to rescan it 4 times, and I might as well have just fussy cutted it, which I hate doing, by the way. I despise fussy cutting. So anyway, I'm loading in the machine, and it sees my image, and it's beautiful, and it looks, you know, you give it a little 0.4 so it has a little space like a die. You go and press cut, and it's cutting. And then all of a sudden, the blade rips my tape off, or takes it with it down the other side of the image, and it gets all wonky, and it's like cutting the face off of my image. And I spent hours on that. So, although I do enjoy using my brother's scan and cut, sometimes it's very frustrating. Unless you want to trust that machine with your work, which maybe I have control issues. I like the control of coordinating dies. I don't like to relinquish control of the cutting out of my project, especially to a machine that does that. How could you do that? It is great sometimes. Sometimes you have an image and the die cuts out all the little intricate spots where you can see through the bite. You don't get that with the scan and cut. It cuts out the outline. And if it's not a lined image, it will really have trouble, and it'll have trouble doing your no line coloring images. Although, I'll say it again, I enjoy using the scan and cut, and I would repurchase it. But it's definitely a love-hate relationship. Those are my go-to dies for card making. I love to hear what your opinions are, truly. I love talking to you guys. Just saying hi to me is fine. This is where we get to interact and what makes YouTube social. Otherwise, I'm just talking to this camera, and that's weird. Find me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter. Sometimes I tweet things. Instagram. I overshare on Instagram stories. So if that annoys you, then probably don't friend me on Instagram. That's probably bad. And I will talk to you guys very soon. Testing, 1, 2, mic check.